The Blind Ambition with Jack Kelly is brought to you by HIMS. HIMS is changing healthcare by providing access to affordable and discreet sexual health treatments. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/blind. That's HIMS.com/blind for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/blind. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Rejection is never easy, especially when it comes to the H-1B visa lottery. Fortunately, our friends at Mob Squad have a solution to help you stay in North America, eliminate US work visa issues for good, and continue supporting your current company. Mob Squad can secure work permits and help you and your family move to Canada in just 4 weeks. Get in touch with Mob Squad to learn more at mobsquad.io/blindambition. That's mobsquad.io/blindambition. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Blind Ambition with Jack Kelly. It's your friend Rick from Blind, and today I'm going to introduce you all to Whitnie Narcisse, who's the operating partner at First Round Capital. She manages the services and teams that support first round companies, including go-to-market, talent, community, and technology, and also manages internal people operations at the firm. First Round is an early stage venture firm focused on building a vibrant community of technology entrepreneurs and companies, including Notion, Roblox, Uber, Square, Verkada, Together, and 500 others. Through custom-built software, incredible in-person experiences, and a host of other unique services, First Round helps tiny companies get big while constantly reimagining the role of venture capital. Thanks for coming on the show, Whitnie.
Thanks for having me.
Can you walk us through your career, just beyond the bio?
Sure. I was on the East Coast for school and going to Boston College. There was this men and women for others mantra. So I knew I wanted to be mission driven when I got out of undergrad, and that led me to Teach for America. I started off my career teaching 8th grade science in the heart of Miami, Overtown, Wynwood area 15 years ago, which was not the trendy design district of Wynwood that it is today. And came back to the Bay Area after 2 years with TFA without a job. A friend introduced me to executive search. So I worked at a retained exec search firm, which these firms charge 100K plus to run C-level VP and board level searches for companies. And in my case, we were focusing on tech startups. And it was great for me to learn how to market map, how to think about all the different acquisitions that had basically happened from 2000 to 2010. LinkedIn was pretty new, so learning how to use other technologies and other ways to find people and other ways to do research outside of LinkedIn. I did that for a while and then moved over. A director at the search firm brought me over to Bloom Energy, which was a hot clean tech company. Now it's called Climate Tech. I spent 4 years there building out the team from about 300 to over 1,700 people. And of course, around the 4-year mark, fully vested, where equity refreshes were not popular back then. I went to business school. And while I was in business school, focused sustainability, startups, venture, and basically pinged everyone in my network to get conversations with 5 different venture firms and ended up at First Round, and that was 9 years ago. I've worked my way up from doing a bunch of talent-related things to community-related things to running internal ops. And as you mentioned, I'm now an operating partner.
So does that mean like you do everything? Like you're doing all the work to make sure everything is running, the doors are open, everything is going according to plan?
Exactly. When people think about venture capital firms, you think about the investors, you think about the sharks of the Shark Tank. And we have 7 great investors on the First Round team, but we also have 43 other employees at the firm who don't do direct investing. And as an operating partner, my job is to make sure that the non-investment work is taken care of so that our investment partners can spend the time meeting with founders and finding the next Uber, Roblox, Notion founders.
All right, now, how do they do that? Because I was looking at the list, and I was listening to Rick, and it's crazy. I really don't understand it. Like, how are you able to pick these winners? I mean, is it because you have like 100,000 different companies you're sifting through? So it makes sense that you're going to get 10 winners. And I know you're the operations person, but you live with these people. What's the magic sauce? What's going on?
We see thousands of companies annually, and we choose just a handful to work with. And seeing 5,000 plus companies looks like annually is you're able to then pattern match, and you're able to see one founder's idea that you might have seen 3 or 4 or 5 other times that month or even that week. And we're able to pattern match and say, okay, we think these ideas are pretty consensus. We've seen a bunch of these. We think these ideas are pretty interesting. And then we think about the market as well. So it's not just about the product, but what markets are favorable today? How will they be valued in the public market? How long will these take to really grow? We're looking for billion-dollar businesses that grow really fast. We're putting jet fuel into jets. We're not putting jet fuel into cars, right? And so we're really looking for these companies to move really quickly. And we also look at the team. What's their track record of success? What have they done in the past that's worked really well? Have they only worked at a FANG and they only know big company, or have they really been scrappy and moved really quickly in whatever venture they've done in the past? You know, our investors are professional and they have done this for many, many years, so they know what to look for.
For the folks that are listening that, have that kind of stereotype of thinking about venture capital as just the investment team, can you walk us through what are the typical like services or platform roles or functions at a VC firm and what they might do for not only the firm itself, but for the portfolio companies?
There are so many different roles beyond just your typical banker or your typical finance person. And of course, we have a finance team who takes care of all the company valuations and looks at all of the different cap tables. And we have a fantastic finance team that's separate from what I do on the operating side. On our side, we have a bunch of different areas. We have an incredible leader who's been with us for many, many years on content. And we have a blog called The First Round Review. We also have our own podcast called the In Depth Podcast, and Jesse runs that. And then we also have an incredible leader on the go to market side who also runs our founder success team. So we have marketing roles that you can find at venture capital firms almost always. We have go to market roles where we try to help our companies get to their first million in ARR. That means we might be pairing with companies to help them craft their ICP, or we might be working with them on positioning and how they talk about their company. We actually have a Webflow guy who can help build homepages for our companies, but we have many other things, a positioning marketer expert who's been with us almost a decade. And then we actually have sales assist where we help our companies get more at bats. We connect them to potential customers. We open up our network wide for that. Of course, there's also the infamous talent team that most venture firms have when they have support services. Our talent team helps our founders hire key roles. They focus on the most important mission critical role for the company. And given that these are early stage companies that are sometimes 3 women and a dream or 2 guys in a garage, um, we help them with their first hire, which ends up being 33% of the whole team and is really, really critical. Always looking for people who are looking for founding engineer roles, or first sales roles or first marketer roles. And we find that we have a really strong network for placing those people who are really looking to go 0 to 1, who are going to found their own company in the future.
Now, do you stick with them afterwards or like after the first round or two?
We have something called the second round guarantee. Obviously, our firm name is First Round Capital, and so obviously we want to be the first institutional round. That honestly could mean it's a pre-seed. That honestly could mean it's seed funding. It could be an A. It really depends on the company, the style of business, and what capital needs they have in order for us to fund it. After their first round, they're usually raising a second round, right? Again, if you're taking venture capital money, you're growing really quickly, you're going to need to fundraise again in the future. We have something called the second round guarantee, which means that if we've invested in you at 10%, or 15% or 20% of the business, we're going to take our pro rata in the next round. That means that for any companies who are worried about signal risk, about their early investors not following on, we have that promise that we will do that in the next round. As they get really big, so think about companies that are huge right now, like Notion or Verkada, these companies that are way later stage, we are a little bit less involved because they should have later stage investors who are really working side by side with them, but we never go away. We're buddies with the founders. We keep in touch with everyone and try to take good care of them.
I think some folks might be surprised to hear that there are even engineers that work at venture capital firms themselves. What does an in-house engineer do at a VC firm?
Such a good question. We do have engineers. Our engineers build internal tools for us. We have something called First Round Network, which is our proprietary custom built platform for any full time employee at any first round backed company. So we have a way for all these employees, these thousands of people across hundreds of companies, to be able to not only connect with each other, but look for different resources on our platform that they might not get publicly. And obviously, with the proliferation of AI, we're also blessed to have an engineering team who helps us think through how we're going to incorporate AI for internal tools, how we move faster, how we sort through data from 20 years of investing, and how we think about building stronger connections and sort of mapping everyone we know. So there's a lot of work for our engineers to do just on helping us build a better firm that's moving faster, that's making better decisions.
Whitney, I'm going to put you a little bit on blast here because I feel like there's a lot of humility in your last answer. I feel like First Round is world famous for supporting not only startup founders, but also these employees. You developed the First Round Expert Network, First Round List, Fast Track Mentorship Program. How did you get the idea to start these programs? Because these programs, are pretty atypical to begin with in terms of being quite novel. And then the second is, many VC firms, I feel like most of them are, hey, we've invested in you. Our job is done. Good luck out there. And that's it. But instead, you and your team, First Round, doesn't do any of that. Why is that the approach that you all have?
It really started off with our founder, Josh Koppelman, who founded the firm with Howard Morgan. They've always believed from day one that we can build a better business together and that we're not just going to leave companies off on an island and be like, call us whenever you need us, but we're going to sit aside. We're also not activist investors. We're not telling companies what to do. We have this motto where we believe that we owe it to our founders to give them our unvarnished opinion and unwavering support. So what that means is when someone's saying, I want to go left, we might say, no, go right, right, right. But if a founder decides to go left, we are going to fully support them. We need to tell them what they think because we're not just a cheerleader with without experience. We want to share the things that we've seen. From the get-go, Josh has just been so amazing in leading us as a firm where we are going to put resources. The reason why I exist, the reason why I have a job and a pretty large team for a venture firm is because we believe that we want to just envelop our founders with all these different resources. So first, it just really starts off in terms of the culture. It starts at the culture of the firm. It starts founder level. But separately, we take the same approach that other founders take, which is what are our customers saying that they need? And then what can we build that doesn't exist in the world? And many of our customers who are startup founders are saying, I have all these dinner invites. Everyone's asking me to do all this stuff as a CEO. Every night I'm getting some VC pinging me to do this. But what about my VP of marketing? What about my CTO? What about my first engineer? People really aren't talking about these people and aren't helping these people. When we heard that time and time again, we thought, yeah, there is a massive opportunity here for us to fill a gap in the market. That's where something like the Fast Track mentorship program came from. And so we're always doing that, which is where is there a gap in the market? Where do we see we can close that and utilize our resources to kind of make the entire ecosystem a better place? We have a specific framework for how we think about new programs, and it kind of has these like 5 specific components. The first is what we're going to put out remarkable, meaning actually, is the value so meaningful that that the person who's engaging in a new program will remark about it to other top talented people. We really want to make sure it's remarkable. The second is it distinctive and is it different from what other venture firms are putting out there? When I started in 2015, there were 13 talent partners on this listserv for talent partners at VC funds who are all friends. In 2023, a friend shared that the list was now 600 people in VC talent roles. So 46xing, 45xing over the course of a decade in this role, which is just insane. So that means that you really have to think about distinctive and different programs. At the same time, you want it to be relevant. Is this a top priority not only for founders or for our audiences, but is this a top priority for first round? Is it impactful? Is it going to really deliver, again, massive impact for the potential number of customers or the number of founders or the number of people that it will impact? And lastly, we really think about compounding effects. Is there a way that we can do this one to many instead of one to one, which for I did say we have a large-ish team, but we're still small compared to the number of companies that we're serving.
Now, I'm curious in terms of that huge list. Now, how does someone, if I'm an engineer or a product owner, how do I raise my hand and get noticed by that huge list of 600 talent partners at all these VC firms?
It's pretty simple. If you're interested in getting connected to VC talent partners, you can probably figure out their email address by just looking at the domain of the firm. Most top VCs have some kind of way to raise your hand on their website and say, I want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to work at one of your companies. We have the same. If you go to firstround.com/talent, you can go say, I want to be a part of the First Round Network and I want to work at an early stage company. Again, we're looking for people generally who are working at companies who want to work at companies that are 20 people or less.
Right. So perhaps, if your experience is all at Microsoft, these big tech companies, and maybe you want to make the switch, this could be a good avenue for you to get your hands dirty and in the weeds.
Absolutely. I always think it's a great gateway to work at an early stage company. If you're interested in founding a company yourself, you get a front row seat to all of the challenges and all of the opportunities that come about with early stage companies.
We've talked about mentorship, we've talked about supporting recruiting, the go to market, the sales. What is a typical day to day look like for an operating partner like yourself? It just seems like you're in any given day, you can be pulled in so many directions because there seems to be so much that the firm does and so much that you do. What is there a such thing as a typical day even?
You guessed it, there is no typical day.
Oh no.
But that's okay. It's so fun because there is no typical day. I think if there was a typical day, I would have been gone a long time ago, but I'm a very type A, gotta go, gotta run, gotta do a million things kind of person. This type of role works really well for me. Some days I am focused truly on internal operation. We have this OKR type of planning 3 times a year where we go through the list of the things that we need to get done and we report out on the metrics for our firm and we think about what we're doing next. I also could be recruiting and looking for our next investment partner, our next chief of staff, our next engineer, etc. But I also could be helping founders. I could be texting with a founder and helping them hire or deal with a tricky people ops situation. I could be helping founders connect to potential customers, or I could be connecting them to a contract designer, consulting engineering firm who they're looking for. So there's always kind of the traffic cop connecting the dots kind of role that I'm doing, but I'm building lots of programs. And, one of the new programs that we just announced is this product market fit program. Our goal is to help as many companies as possible, as many early stage startups get to product market fit as quickly as possible. We published this framework for how to think about PMF, and we have 4 different levels: nascent, developing, strong, and extreme. And we're putting together a program this summer for a handful of founders who want to go through it. We've already had a couple thousand founders apply, sifting through and talking to founders this week to see who could be the best fit for this program. And the last thing I'd say that takes up a lot of time is focusing on retreats. I love in-person experiences. I think Zoom is way overrated, and I'm on the road a lot, but I love, love, love retreats and doing experiences, whether it's for our founders, CEOs, or our CTOs, or angel investors in our community, or our own first round team. I'm usually, like I said, on the road putting together some kind of retreat or experience, probably monthly.
It's so wild, Whitney, because on one level you seem like running on adrenaline, like you're just doing a million different things, 100 miles an hour, right? Like it's like this hardcore, let's do this, let's do this. But at the same time, you're kind of engulfing, enwrapping yourself with the founders and everyone else to make them feel comfortable, which is a really interesting thing.
We want founders to feel like they're the only founder we've
Yeah.
invested in. If they feel like I'm one of 250 companies that first round has, that's not a good feeling for
Yeah.
them. And it's not good for us. We don't want to just be, again, standing by the sidelines. We want to be in this with them. We want to build their business together. Of course, they have they have the business themselves. They came up with the idea. They're running the company day to day, and it is not the same as being a founder. But we just love our founders so much. And I think that's what drives me. That's what motivates me. That's what motivates our best team members, which is have this service-oriented mindset. And you just want to do everything you can for founders. You will stay up an extra couple hours just to source an extra 20 candidates. You'll stay up a couple extra hours just to put together the LOI template for them to use with their potential partners. So there are so many things that our team does just because we have like pure love and passion for these founders.
So your team has to have a certain, when you hire them, let's say putting on your recruiter hat, you really have to find people who are very empathetic, people who care, people who are very motivated, people who could really relate to others. Otherwise, it just doesn't work out, right? It must be a little challenge to find that right mix of candidates.
We have cultural values, as does every company. People don't think of venture capital firms having values. That's a little odd, right? But we do. And our very first value is to try harder for founders. They're our customers. So it's always about trying harder and going the extra mile and treating the little things like big things. But we also have this value that is about making speed a habit. Founders these days who are living in this world, who have AI at the tips of their fingertips, they want to move quickly. They want answers in minutes, not hours, and certainly not days. So if you find that you're responding a day late, like a day late is 23 hours too late. So we really try to move quickly and match the pace and match the intensity that the founders are bringing themselves.
On that note, are there other kind of traits or experiences or even values that you find tend to be the ideal profile for someone looking to work in venture capital or at a venture capital firm?
For sure. One is curiosity. We have seen hundreds of companies in the time that I've been here. And that's just the ones that we've invested in. Investment partners have seen thousands. And every new company who comes in has an idea in healthcare or in dev tools or in AI or in infrastructure that we've never heard of before or that I've never come across before. And so then I need to get really smart about observability, or I need to get really smart about maternal health care and all these different things that I've never had exposure to. So curiosity means when I've shut my computer at the end of the night, I actually open up my phone to read up on the industry and what's happening with a new company. So curiosity is key. I also think we have another value around inventing and wandering. It sounds like we have thousands of values. We only have 6, but there's another value around inventing and wandering, which is basically coming up with some idea that seems like it would be good, and because you've done customer discovery, because you think you have empathy for the founder, and then if that idea doesn't work, then you wander and you try to, you try to iterate on it, and you have patience to see experimentation through. And that one is really key too, because I think a lot of people tend to give up pretty easily, or they either give up or they're just like apathetic. And people with heart and passion and curiosity and people with the desire to invent things do really well at first round. I can't speak to other firms. I think it's very different at different VC firm, and it depends if you're in Silicon Valley or if you're in New York. We have offices in Silicon Valley, New York, and in Philadelphia, where we were founded. And so it's really nice to have coverage across the country from everyone, and we all kind of have our different flavor for how we interact.
This episode of The Blind Ambition with Jack Kelly is brought to you by BetterHelp. For anyone out there who needs to hear this, you are more than your job. Don't get us wrong. Passion for your work is great, but it's so important to find joy, fulfillment, and validation in your life as a whole, not just at work. And therapy can help you get there. We all go through ups and downs in our career. Maybe you're thinking about switching career paths, or you're feeling super burned out in your job. You might be struggling with the uncertainty of our current economy, or trying to manage the anxiety that can come up during the job interview process. Whatever it is, you're not alone, and therapy can help. Therapy gives you a place to talk through what's going on at work in a safe and supportive environment, figure out what goals you have for your life and career, and build the confidence to go out and make them happen. Otherwise, it's easy to stick at the same old, even if it's not making you happy. If you're interested in giving therapy a try, BetterHelp offers affordable online therapy on a flexible week-to-week schedule so you can fit it into your day. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get started, then BetterHelp will match you with a licensed therapist based on your needs, preferences, and goals. Connect with your therapist by text, phone, or video call. Start the process in minutes and switch therapists anytime. Elevate your work and your life with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/teamblind for 20% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/TEAMBLIND for 20% off your first month.
Now, would you say that there's a difference in the approach or even the function of kind of what I'm going to call like a traditional venture capital firm, like first round, versus kind of these corporate venture capital firms that you see that have, a brand name of a larger, huge tech company or a huge company? Does the work that they do differ in any way? And why might that be so?
The beauty of a CVC, so a corporate venture capital firm, is that you're embedded into the larger organization, and you generally have a sole LP being that larger organization. Microsoft's venture capital firm sits under Microsoft, where they only have the LP of Microsoft, essentially putting money into the firm. They have the advantage of basically reaching out across everyone at Microsoft and saying, how can you help our companies? And that's definitely an advantage. I'd say that it might leave a bit to desire around the ability to invent and wander, which is so critical for traditional VC like ours, because there are certain constraints, either in the LP agreement or in what kinds of companies you decide to invest in. There might be some constraints there. Whereas we are generalists at first round, we love to see all different types of companies from all different industries. We might be, again, investing in an AI company versus a fintech company versus a healthcare company. And it's really nice to be able to have that breadth for someone like me who gets bored really easily, so that I can see lots of different types of business models.
Do you kind of have your favorites? You meet these founders and these companies and the business models, and you're like, oh, I hope this really succeeds. I hope this works out.
The mom answer in me is I have favorites. The truth is, there are always founders who will do the work. right? I mentioned all the different services that we have for our founders. One of the examples is we do this positioning. We have this amazing marketer who does positioning work with our founders, and sometimes they don't do the homework required in order to get their positioning in a really good place. So if the founder can't do the homework required, then we can't do it on our end, then there's a suboptimal outcome. So any founder who takes some of the work really seriously are founders who we tend to really love. And also, most of the founders that we invest in have technical backgrounds. They're engineering or product backgrounds. So having them really take risks on the go to market side is great too. The ones who learn really quickly and aren't afraid to try different things and kind of take some of the advice. Those are some of our favorite founders. But founders are just like us. They're just humans too, and then they're amazing.
Can you help us debunk some common myths about venture capital or working in venture capital? I mean, earlier we mentioned it's just the finance folks or it's just the investor folks. That myth totally busted. Any others that the audience should know about?
Yes, we are not all just dudes in vests, Rick. Actually, Jack, you were alluding to this earlier, which is that people think that VCs are transactional. It's like, here's your money and like go build. We really think about VCs as a relationship business. Every interaction is about relationship building and brand building and putting good things out in the world. We do believe that goodness will come back to us. I mentioned this product market fit method program that we're putting. It's a 14-week intensive, and we're actually not taking any equity. There's no dollar exchange and there's no equity exchange, but we believe that we're on to something and we want to share this with the world. We want to share it with other startups. I think the common myth of venture is that we're all just in spreadsheets all day and it's very transactional. I think that couldn't be further from the truth at first round. Maybe perhaps when you get to growth stage capital and you get farther down the funnel and you're, at a late stage VC, that might be more the case. But early stage is fun. It's all about the team. It's all about the founder. It's all about the idea and the product and the market and the pivots, and less around kind of the dollars and cents in the beginning, though they need to think about efficiency as they grow.
It sounds like you get a rush when you get these new clients in, right? When these new founders come in, and it's like that jolt of excitement, huh?
It is. And we do a full process. We have an onboarding when they come in, and we say, here's essentially your guidebook and your manual for how to use first round and how we're going to work together. We really want to stay close at least the first few years, and here's what we're going to do for you. And then they share with us some of their problems, some of the exciting, roadmap features and things that they're building. So it is really a jolt of energy, but it happens every couple of weeks or in some cases every week. And so because it's a high volume, you've got to be super energetic and ready to roll.
Are there any other things that folks just don't know about VC?
I think people don't think about the feedback loop and how long it is and how hard it is for people in VC. It takes 7 to 10 years for a venture-backed company to mature. Oftentimes, you never know if a company is going to grow really quickly and then stagnate, or it might be slow to grow, slow to bake, and then all of a sudden explodes. And there really is no one size fits all for growth trajectory for each of these companies. And it's tough as someone in venture to know how you're doing. When you're at an operating company, you can say, we produce this amount of revenue, or it takes this amount of sales reps to exit out this amount of revenue. We just don't have those because it is a power law game, and because you oftentimes aren't seeing what's happening until nearly a decade later. It's really easy for people to anchor on splashy exits, big stories, massive IPOs, but there's so much under the iceberg that people don't see. It could really be a decade. That's been something that we've all been dealing with, and that's something that everyone in VC deals with. And so a few years ago, we started working with Annie Duke, who's a famous poker player and author. She wrote this book, Thinking in Bets, and now she works with us to help us improve our decision-making process and also try to use markers earlier on to get some signal on whether we're doing things right and whether we need to make adjustments, and how we think about seeing some sign of success, when ultimately the sign of success is exits and, obviously something further down the road. She tries to chunk it up to small bite-sized signals of success. The reason why we say choose your partners really wisely, and your partners being your venture capital firm, is because these founders are going to work with them for a decade. These founders may work with them for a very long time. It is a relationship. It is like you are married to them. They are on your cap table. It is a real thing. We have executive coaches who we recommend to our. The other reason why I care so deeply about founder retreats and experiences is because we essentially put together the environment for founders to come to each other and to share anecdotes and challenges with each other. And we try to Simpson back into the bush so they don't see us at the retreat. Because it's all about them giving each other support. And that founder support really means the most to them, I think, because they understand they're all in the trenches together. But yes, it is incredibly difficult, Jeff.
Wow. I mean, in terms of kind of even on the VC side where you don't have that feedback for 7 years until or more, when one of the startups that you've invested even gets closer to an exit or even a liquidity event, do VC firms tend to think in terms of themes, or do they tend to specialize? How do they find that success and that North Star along the way when you're not necessarily kind of getting those signals along the way?
There are certain firms who do themes. There are certain firms who try all different things. So I can't really speak to others, but I can speak to First Round, which is consistency. We have been a seed stage fund and continue to think that we're best in class at seed. And so we're not a multi-stage firm trying to pretend to do seed funding and trying to essentially pay for an option to get a buy up later in a Series A or B. We're a seed fund focused on the earliest stages of company building. And what that means is that we're purposely built for the seed and that we do seed really well. If someone asked us to invest in a Series D or E company, we wouldn't want to, and we wouldn't be great partners, and we wouldn't get enough ownership, frankly. We focus really early on, and I think that strategy has worked really well and has allowed us to raise multiple funds. And you can eventually look at our track record, because we're coming up on our 20th anniversary soon, and being able to, again, see all of the data from the past, it makes it really a great story for us to tell our limited partners, our investors, of like, we've stayed consistent. We've stayed really good at the thing that we're really good at. You want Betty Crocker making cakes. You don't want them making, I don't know, eggplant parm.
Beyond what you've mentioned in terms of the founders that might not always be doing their homework, are there any things that you wished startup founders would stop doing so that they could go to the next level?
It's so hard to give generalizable advice, and we try to stay away from that because every founder is different. But I think the best founders that we've found have just been really intense and really focused on the problem that they're solving and really customer obsessed. I can't think of an example of a founder being successful who is so focused on their competitors. Like, that never works. If you're just like, I need to beat that other company, or I need to think about the next, I need to just do a little bit better than that other company or charge a little bit less than that other company. So focusing on competitors is quite challenging. Just, focusing on the problem, focusing on the customer, and focusing on building, that's what we've seen works really well, and trying to essentially put blinders to any other distractions.
I love that. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I actually think it's good advice just in terms of anyone in their career, whether you're a startup founder or work at an early stage company or not, is just to really focus on building and more about doing. So thank you for that reminder. And thanks for coming on the show, Whitney.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun.
Thank you, Wendy. You got me excited. I want to start up a startup now.
Come on, you can do it. Let's go.
Rick, we got to think of, like, I'm so, serious. I swear, like, your energy is contagious. I don't have a good idea. That's the only problem. All right, Rick, we got to come
I
up with
love
an
it.
idea and then circle back to Whitney. That's our homework.
And
We got to figure it out. We got to come up with a concept.
Thank you guys so much.
That's it for The Blind Ambition. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.